my name is Naas, and today I'm going to explain to you guys how to set up a fish tank at home and the health benefits that can come from owning a fish tank. So before you start, you're going to want to brainstorm and consider a few things. For example, the size of the tank, the shape, the fish, and then most importantly, the location. You're going to want to make sure that the tank is out of direct sunlight because the constant change in temperature can stress out the fish. You're also going to want to make sure that the floor can support the weight of the fish tank, and you're also going to want to make sure that the fish tank is near at least 3 electrical outlets. So after you've done your brainstorming, you want to get your materials in order to set up the fish tank. So you're going to need an appropriate sized tank, a stand, a heater and thermometer, a substrate, a filter, a light source, fish food, your fish of choice, and an air stone, which is optional. So once you get your materials, you can start setting up the fish tank. So the first step is going to be to rinse the tank in order to get all the dirt and debris out of it. After you do that, you can set up the stand. And you're going to want to make sure that it's leveled, because if it's not leveled, it can be hazardous to the fish, and it can more likely cause a crack or a leak to happen. Also, when you're setting up the stand, you want to make sure that there's a good amount of space between the wall and the tank in order for the filter to fit in. After you do that, you can choose a background. So this is an optional step, but it's recommended because if the fish see the reflection in the glass, they can get stressed out. So after you do that, you can fill the tank about 1/3 to check for any leaks. So basically you'll do this by wiping the bottom of it and seeing if any water comes out. After you do that, you can install the filter, but don't plug it in yet. You'll basically do this according to the manufacturer's instructions. And then after that, you can add your substrate and decorations inside of the tank. Before you add them, make sure you rinse them off so there's no dirt or debris on top. After you do that, you can install the air stone, which is optional. It's basically just something that adds bubbles inside of the tank. After you do that, you can fill the tank if no leaks were noted. And when you do this, you want to make sure you add an appropriate amount of bacteria additive. This basically just adds good bacteria inside the tank that fights off any ammonia strikes. And ammonia is bad and could potentially kill your fish. So after you do that, you can install the heater, and you don't want to plug this in yet either. But basically, depending on the type of heater you have will determine the place where you install it. So you do this because you want to make sure the heater spreads heat throughout the whole tank evenly. And then after you do this step, you can install the thermometer. So this depends on where you put the heater. You're going to want to put it on the opposite side of the heater, and you want to make sure that you have easy access to check what the temperature is. You also want to make sure the fish tank is between 74 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit. After you do this, you can now place the cover and the light on top, and after you do this, you can plug in all of your items. Make sure when you plug them in, the cords hit the ground before going into the socket, because if any water leaks, you want to make sure that the water doesn't go straight into the electrical socket, and instead it will go onto the ground. So after you do that, you're basically done. You just need to go through the stabilizing period, which is basically when you make sure that the conditions are good for the fish for about 24 to 48 hours. And after you do that, you can add the fish inside the tank. Now there's a very specific way to do this, because if you just plop the fish in, they can get very stressed out and potentially die. So you're going to want to place them on top of the water in their purchase bag and leave them for at least 2 hours, and that way they can get used to their surroundings, and then after that you can put them inside of the tank. So now that you know how to set up the tank, you're going to want to know how to maintain and keep a healthy, clean tank. So there's only a few things you need to do. You have to scrub the algae and vacuum the gravel every other week in order to keep the environment clean for the fish. You're going to want to test the pH water at least once a month, and this step is very important because it determines if the water is good condition for the fish and allows them to live a long and happy life. After you do that, you should replace up to 25% of the water with warm dechlorinated water in order to prevent any toxins from getting in, and you want to do this at least twice a month. And then after you do that, you're going to want to rinse the filter, and you do this every month, and it's recommended to do it in the aquarium water. That way you can preserve any good bacteria that is in the filter. And then after that, you just need to feed your fish at least twice a day. So now that you know how to set up the fish tank and how to maintain a good healthy fish tank, you should know the health benefits that come from owning a fish tank. So first, it can reduce stress. It's like a nature kind of thing, so it's a soothing and calming effect. So it can de-stress you, and since it de-stresses you, it can also help you get a good night's rest and help your sleep quality. And then it also decreases anxiety and pain. I don't know if you've noticed this, but in like doctor's offices and dentist office, they usually have a fish tank there to calm their patients, and it's scientifically proven that those who are exposed to a fish tank before going into the dentist have less anxiety and less pain than those who are not exposed to one. And then it also improves your productivity because of the aesthetic it gives to the room. So in summary, a fish tank is beneficial in more than one way. In this speech, I basically covered how to set up a fish tank, how to maintain the quality and health of your fish tank, and the health benefits that can come from having a fish tank. And congratulations, you know how to set up a fish tank.